Our story takes place in a world where strange creatures wander through the human realm. They end up becoming violent and dangerous to ordinary people. But luckily, our hero is a guy who cares about all of them. He sees something in them that truly attracts him. In fact, he even gets a bit flustered around them. But seriously, he dedicates himself a lot to his work. And of course, he won't have to do it alone. He will have beautiful allies by his side. In summary, it is a truly dangerous world. But what is perilous for some can be quite alluring for others. On a beautiful night in the city, someone touches the ground, saying there are various drops of agitation. The young man observes that puddle and also mentions that there's something bizarre nearby. Still with his hand on the ground, he tries to extract more information from that cell. The agitation is almost at its limit, and the host can unleash his power at will, but only if he finds the clues of that creature first. Suddenly, something appears behind him without him noticing. That thing starts moving intensely and surprises him greatly. That strange entity attacks quickly and hits the ground, forcing the young man to jump to evade. He assesses the situation and realizes that the bizarre creature is hiding in the drops, waiting for a chance to make a stealthy attack. Looking at that strange thing, he thinks it's impossible to know which one is the source. Suddenly, something catches his attention above our hero and surprises him once again. Smiling, he prepares himself while saying he has found it. That thing hits our hero and spreads all over the place. The young man holds that half-human woman while asking her not to run away. Still, the bizarre creature escapes from his hands right after trying to attack. Intrigued by the situation, he comments that she is quite a dangerous girl. That bizarre creature looks at him a bit intimidated. Our hero says he will be embarrassed if the young woman keeps showing those legs. The creature merely observes him with snake-like eyes, appearing somewhat irritated. A provoked bizarre creature is even more dangerous, but that was not the intention of our boy. The purple thing on the man's chest explains that the creatures already see him as an enemy and urges him to use his own power. The boy feels something uncomfortable as that energy slowly begins to take over his body. It modifies his arm, which splits into what looks like several tentacles. With an intense gaze, he seems ready to attack. Using the tentacles, he manages to bind the bizarre creature's legs, leaving no chance for defense. Surprised, he wonders if that is the force of the agitation of the drops. Perhaps people see that operation as something wrong, but maybe the host needs to have a better understanding of things. Out of nowhere, the beautiful creature, at least in the eyes of our young man, releases one of the legs that were entangled. It seems that this time the young man did not expect her to manage that. Now free, she leaps at him with all her might. It could be the end for our young man. Using that strange tentacle arm, he reacts by questioning if she still intends to retaliate. This time, the tentacles bind various places, providing a beautiful view for our hero. He feels satisfied and comments that he likes to see her fighting like that, full of will. Yes, this time his thoughts were quite indecent, and his parasite catches his attention. Then that creature opens a huge mouth. From inside that mouth comes another mouth that extends further, resembling an alien, and the boy finds what he sees quite unpleasant. Now the bizarre creature binds him, and his shock leaves him unresponsive to the attack. Somewhat battered, he thinks this is his end. The creature's mouth is bizarrely large and seems like it will swallow him whole, leaving nothing for a snack. As he faces his death, he wonders why things are taking this turn. Why on earth did I sign up for this? Questions the young man. This is Chang Zai-kun, a high school student. Considering what he is used to seeing in his daily life, he can't really say that anything can be considered strange. Initially, he felt a sense of fear, which was normal, let's agree. But soon after, he realized he was capable of seeing them. The shock of having something he could enjoy alone. In the end, that left our little hero deeply fascinated. Everyone thinks he is strange, even his parents, who rented an apartment for him, and don't even ask if he would like to come back during the holidays. Suddenly he thinks, what was that now? It seems that these red traces are something quite bizarre. Running in surprise, he questions if there is something in that alley. When out of nowhere, a strange thing hits his face. Grabbing that little thing in his hands, he wonders what it could be. And that whole cute little mini people get a bit desperate upon hearing that he wants to turn them into his pet. The little creature runs away, hopping, with our hero behind. A woman takes the little thing in and asks if he can see the drops of emotion left by the bizarre beings. Kindly, she questions if he sees those creatures while the creature is terrified. Turning a bit red, the young man thinks she is a wonderful woman. And even with his eyes closed, he can still feel her beauty and wisdom. He thinks that, even seeing that wonderful woman, his heart is restless wanting to say something. That woman is probably not human. She is some kind of bizarre humanoid. She is surprised to see humans interested in the bizarre, and asks if he would like to work for her. Chang Zai-kun wants to know if working with this will allow him to see more monsters, but he corrects himself, as they are known as the bizarre. She explains that she searches for the bizarre around the world with the intention of helping, and if he accepts the job, he will be able to meet many of them. Then she says she will provide all the necessary support he might need, assuming our hero has the courage to accept what she has to offer. Looking back, he now knows why he accepted this job, to live a kind life with all the bizarre. Then someone questions if he is the new human freelancer. She wants to know if this is his work attitude, flailing on the ground like a fish. Touching the young man's face, she asks if he really likes the bazaar. Excited, she says he must help them immediately. The guy doesn't understand anything and asks who that girl is, because it's dangerous here. As the creature strikes fiercely, he says it's better for her to step back to stay safe. She jumps away carrying the young man and avoids the monster's blow. Then she questions if he was trying to warn her. But carrying him like a bag, she says he would be dead if it weren't for her. Our young man realizes that his wounds have been healed, but he is all marked with scars. Remembering that beautiful woman, he wonders if she sent the girl to help. Then he feels moved, as he didn't think she had such consideration. Wanting to make things clear, the girl explains that she has nothing to do with those bizarre beings. But more seriously, she says that dealing with them will depend on the guy's skills. The creature seems unwilling to give up and jumps in front, blocking their path. In a quick movement, it seems something flies in the alley. Our hero crashes to the ground while the girl seems to have completely lost her mind. That thing rolls like a ball, while Chang Zai-kun lies like a fool on the ground watching. She screams, calling him an idiot, saying he didn't die, and tells him to focus. But our hero defends himself, saying he's not being foolish, that he's thinking about how to resolve the situation. Using his powers, he says that this person is what they call a bizarre whisperer. The creature seems to feel something strange, and in fury it charges at the young man. But he remains unfazed by the situation and says that the monster is impatient. In the next moment, the creature's leg hits a line of energy. As it stumbles, the guy warns it to be careful not to crash. Then several lines begin to hit the creature, and it ends up all tied up on the ground, defeated. Then he says, absorbing the dripping agitation, reconstructing the dripping agitation. He explains that it is the first power he received from this bazaar, and that it holds immense power to control agitation. He tells the creature not to be afraid, as he is there to help. But the bazaar doesn't seem very interested in conversation, and with a powerful leap, it frees itself from those bindings. That talking head tells him to be careful, that things are getting crazy, and the creature prepares to attack him full of energy. That thing in his chest seems to stir as well, and again he attacks the monster with another bunch of threads. The creature is all tied up again, above him. It ends up falling into his lap like a damsel. Filled with compassion, he thinks it's a shame. He comments that all her wounds have been healed. He says that before meeting her, he found an area full of drops of agitation on the walls and floor, and that she passed through places with sharp and crushed stones like a barefoot figure staining the area. He says that others might ignore this, but he noticed it as soon as he saw her, and if he hadn't been drawn to her behavior, he would have noticed this aspect earlier. No one can feel her discomfort or her pain for being in this world, and they will never be able to heal those wounds. However, in the end, that doesn't matter anymore. He just hopes to return to his world with her and take care of her feet. The creature watches him, now calmer. While the girl assembles herself like a Lego, she asks what's going on. Irritated, she asks how he manages to take away Blitz's power and says that if she returned the attack, he would be done for. She asks if that's how he sees a bazaar, like a young girl without love. Chang Zai-kun tells the creature not to be scared, as she is just jealous. That other girl says she now understands what he means by being a whisperer of the bazaar. Satisfied, she says that this test proves he is worthy of the job. Excited, he says that he is also a bazaar and that he doesn't understand how she feels. Seeking comfort from the other woman, she says that he is strange, but that she should try to have some consideration for him. Now she also seems satisfied, and the other woman says that, as they agreed earlier, she will take him to the land of the bazaar so he can see how they truly are. Well pleased with the situation, he is eager to go there. Sometime later they walk to a car. The woman opens the door inviting him to get in. Inside, along with the bazaar, he asks if she can drive. The girl says they simply adapted. Then she puts that strange key in the car. The car starts, and energy begins to swirl beneath it. He is surprised that she actually knows how to drive. The car starts sinking into the ground. It seems like the entire car has entered that pink puddle. Crossing some sort of portal, it continues descending as he realizes that this is also a bazaar. They keep going while colorful lights fill the entire place. Impressed, he wonders what kind of trip this is. Every cell in his body becomes frantic as they swim and fly. That thing keeps flying through space until they hit a puddle. Putting her hand outside that creature, the woman says they have arrived. Our hero delicately exits the car. He falls to the ground all disjointed. He looks ahead and is surprised by what he sees. Looking at all those truly bizarre things, he wonders if this could be the homeland of the bazaar, and he is genuinely enchanted by it. He finds all of them adorable, while the girl criticizes their small talk. Smiling, she says that, by human customs, they could find a place to sit and chat. Then they head to the place, and a girl with several arms welcomes them. Meanwhile, the bartender seems to handle the work with ease. Someone announces that 4 new guests have arrived. Now the bizarre little group is sitting comfortably, and someone serves a unique drink in a glass. The woman extends her hand and tells him to try it. She takes some strange balls from a jar, opens it, and lets them fall into the glass. She says that the name of that place is Moonrise and that she is the lord of the place, called Nonentity. Our young man wonders why she belittles herself by calling herself nothing. The other girl gives him a smack, telling him not to make puns. She smiles, saying she never thought about what her name meant in human language, and that it serves as a reminder of her exclusion. Our hero becomes curious about this story of exclusion. She explains that practically all the bizarre beings there are strange creatures for this world, as they are exiles from another. She says that even in the ancient world, they were bizarre aliens, and the truth is that only one mistake could hurt the people around them. They don't fit into any group and are seen as a disaster. In fact, instead of saying that Moonrise is their home, they could say it is their prison. She said she will trust our young man to tell the bizarre beings living there that they can live peacefully. This will be for their protection, and also for the safety of this world. Chang Zai-kun says that's fine, as long as they don't prevent him from getting close to the bizarre. She replies that, although she trusts his talents, that girl there will work with him for precaution. Then she introduces herself as Guanshou and says she is a native, explaining that she was also invited to take care of the bizarre. But she said, as his senior, that she hasn't recognized him properly yet and asks if he understands the bizarre well. She then suggests that he try to identify what characteristics make her special. He explains that her personality is quite bad, and that is special for a bizarre. The girl gets irritated and jumps on him, saying she will get mad on behalf of all human women and will punch him. But suddenly, our hero touches her face, saying he prefers not to be beaten. Leaving her surprised, he states that he prefers to act instead. Then he easily removes his head from his body. She asks if he thinks that by taking off his head he will intimidate her. But our hero seems surprised by what she is saying, and in the next moment, he leans in to kiss her. This leaves the owner of the place and the other bizarre surprised. But before touching the girl, he says it was as he imagined, and he pushes her away, saying it really is a bizarre and inhuman feeling. She says she doesn't understand, asking if that's how he confirms it. Then he replies that if she really is a bizarre from this area, she must be the beautiful head recorded in the tales of Liao Zhai. It resembles the stories that record the head of a very beautiful woman. He adds that this body is like a prosthesis she uses to pass as human, and that she can control when the head is connected. Continuing with the story, he tells her that if the tale is correct, she should have only one arm that belongs to her original body. Then Guanshou attacks him with a headbutt, questioning what he is doing with such twisted talk. But our boy was already expecting a violent situation when the girl bites his arm like a dog. Finally, she grabs the head and puts it back in place while he says he finally understands. He says that her head is just to deceive enemies, and that the arm is the true body. She seems quite affected by this statement, and she attacks him again with a strange headbutt, telling him to go to hell. Our hero is thrown off that place and crashes through the glass. He seems surprised by the situation. He finds it strange that he is still falling through the air. He wonders if this is how it has been, and if this place called Moon is a gigantic bazaar. Suddenly, something starts happening to that creature, and some green tentacles emerge. They reach out to our hero who is still falling through the air. Then they wrap around the boy's arms and legs, leaving him surprised. And they save him by pulling him back to Moonrise. Someone tells him that it's okay to play around there a few times. Then she adds that she hopes the two get along, but the girl doesn't seem very excited deep down. Then she says it's already settled and that tonight they should live together. This situation leaves the girl irritated and the boy a bit worried. A bit incredulous, he questions if this is his room. It actually looks like a pretty nice room, but he teases, saying it doesn't remind him of a bazaar. Then the girl slams the bedroom door and asks if he feels that now. Striking a somewhat strange pose, she questions if that reminds him of a bazaar. She tries to attack him again, but the boy dodges. Digging his fingers into the wall, he says there's no time for games, noticing that the agitation is increasing and things are getting serious. Then he decides to act using his power. He starts to bind her body with those pink tentacles, and it seems he is managing to immobilize the girl. Now he feels a bit calmer with the girl controlled, but she seems irritated at being all tied up like this, and he begins to absorb the agitation. It seems that worked, but he needs to keep in mind that she is not his opponent. The danger level of Bazaar is classified as Abominable, Danger Class, Fatal Class, and also Vital Class. Shortly after the host enters into symbiosis with him, she became a junior Bazaar who can handle a Vital Class alone. She is only responsible for communication and support as a manager. However, if she succumbs to her desires, she will become a Fatal Class Bazaar, and it seems she is disconnecting again. The rest of her body seems motionless on the ground, while those two parts float in front of our hero. He is surprised by what is happening. He realizes that his arm and head have come loose and are sinking into the wall of the apartment. Since the girl has these powers, he expects to be attacked from any direction. Something suddenly catches his attention. But before he can turn to see what is happening, he is hit in the back. Then he goes straight to the ground with a strong impact. She says he understood correctly, that she can pass through materials and control everything she is connected to. But she mocks him, saying, "So what if you know?" Chang Zai-kun is on the ground defenseless while she prepares to attack. Suddenly, an arm emerges from behind and grabs him by the neck, and she explains that this is the welcome ceremony of the bazaars, making their position regarding strength clear. He smiles, saying he has never seen this before and calls her senior. Then she explains that they are managers of bazaars, and that absolute conquest is the truth for all of them. Guancho says that he may have received approval from that entity, but she prefers suppression over any validation. He watches silently for a moment. So, in the next moment, he activates his power, and a pink tentacle emerges from his mouth. It seems that caught the girl by surprise, leaving her confused. Then that thing hits her square in the face. He tells her that he won't let her try that conquest thing on him. Smiling with a somewhat strange expression, she says that it's not so bad. Irritated, she tells him not to even think about sleeping until her stubbornness is resolved. Then the day breaks in that beautiful strange world, and an entity arrives, greeting everyone. Chang Zaikuan looks more like a zombie than a human, but he returns the greeting. He says he would prefer to be in a bed rather than in that weird sleeping bag, while the girl sleeps quite contentedly. It seems that now it's time for food. The girl doesn't even look at him, while the boss questions what happened last night. She apologizes for the girl in case she upset him, as something happened while she was being tested that disturbed her. Then she asks the girl to let him take a look at it. A bit reluctantly, she starts to take off her jacket, and says she understands. Then she begins to open her clothing, and he is surprised by what is happening. She says there was a bizarre creature taking care of her, and she didn't notice when it left. Surprised, he asks if she lived in that hole and what kind of bazaar it was. She replies that it was the same one they encountered earlier, and that its name is Neru, besides being a particularly curious bazaar, but she thought it didn't need attention and left it with Guancho. Then she questions if he is willing to help correct her mistake. Smiling, he says that since it's a job, he accepts, but there is something more. Looking a bit crazy, he says he wants to squeeze that little creature when it's over, and the girl agrees eagerly. He explains that before continuing, he needs to investigate the place where it lived to find some useful clue. She isn't very pleased with that, but tells him to hurry up. Then he goes with his hand touching that hole, and she becomes suspicious. He starts to feel around inside that strange thing. He says that her artificial body is really very beautiful, and she feels satisfied, affirming that it was her own work. Suddenly, he seems to feel something strange. This stirs him a bit. He looks outside while thinking it is Neru. In that window on the other side, he sees the creature like a giant beast. He finds everything very strange, even if it is a bazaar. That is definitely not normal. The duo continues at the table in a somewhat strange atmosphere. The girl seems to have become a bit shy about it. Then she says that, according to human etiquette, she should apologize to him. He waits for the apology, but she remains silent. Then she looks at him as if expecting him to do something. In fact, she hoped he would cut her off by saying it was all right, so she wouldn't have to apologize, which would be quite convenient. He wants to know why she can't act like a human since she knows so much about them. For her, humans are always making malicious plans, so she can't let her guard down around them. She then questions our guy why some humans like bizarre creatures so much when they should actually be terrified. She remembers telling a guy named Pal Kun that he did nothing wrong, that it was the others who gave up on them first. She seems a bit thoughtful about this situation. Then, feeling all high and mighty, he says it's because that guy has good judgment and good taste. But she concludes that it might be because guys like him don't have friends, and he feels that in his heart. The girl is also somewhat conceited and says she will give him advice as a first-time manager. She explains that in this business of searching for and taking care of bizarre creatures, humans often see them as the greatest threat. Chang Zaikuan says he understands, but as a human, he will explain something to her, and he comments that her tough side is fading, leaving the girl somewhat tense. In the next moment, that car appears again in the human world. Getting out of it, she says to proceed while asking if he can feel where Nera might be, but he explains that he can only judge the bizarre creatures accurately and has no communication skills. Even so, he asserts that he could have a sense of it. Curious, she asks what it will be, and he tells her to just follow him. He thinks that giant eye appeared after he found her aura in Nera's nest. Out of nowhere, they hear someone calling for help. A woman is lying on the ground in despair, asking what that thing is and pleading for it not to come closer. Excited, Guancho realizes they just found it on the street and rushes to catch it. But the little creature isn't very excited about that and starts hopping away from them. A bit disappointed, she notices it has simply vanished into thin air. Chang Zaikun thinks this was some kind of evasion skill from the creature and believes that even Guancho won't be able to control it. He is surprised by something about that woman, and in desperation, she asks if he saw that too. Screaming uncontrollably, she says it was a monster. Crying, she claims that the creature went and ate her nuts. Chang Zaikun seems to not truly believe in that situation. She says that it is a spiritual support she can never enjoy, which is why she went there, but it wouldn't be this time that she would be at ease. He remembers what the boss said, that Nero is easily attracted to new things, and believes it was curious about the nuts. The girl is shaken, saying she never thought she would encounter something so horrible, and wants to know what the guy thinks. But he says he hasn't seen anything like that horrible monster. She then apologizes for seeming crazy and thought she had met someone who wouldn't find her bizarre. Our hero ponders this, and remembers when they used to call him weird and alien. They teased him, asking if he was really human, saying he was very strange. He also thinks that others were even weirder. Then, suddenly someone points out that there it is. The men grab the girl, saying she escapes from the asylum many times and that torments them. They say she will be in a straitjacket when she returns, while she screams that she hasn't been able to eat the chestnuts yet. Guansho asks if she isn't the girl who was involved with Neru just a little while ago. But our hero says she is just a patient with mental issues and it's not like you can compare the two. And he says that when they find Neru, he hopes no one is bothering him. Then, suddenly, someone approaches asking about this name. The guy is curious that Chang Zai-kun called that thing Neru. He says it's interesting and tells them to follow him, as this time he will manage to harvest them. Meanwhile, back there, the men restrain the girl. The creature continues fleeing from our duo of pursuers. It is curious about being in a snack bar. Then it wonders if he would be interested in human food. But luckily it is not lunchtime yet, and they might be able to catch the creature soon. The girl is curious to know how it will be done. In that place full of snack bars, it doesn't seem too crowded. Then he tells her to just go ahead and says he is one of the vendors. She finds it funny, as suddenly it seems like the boy is a strange recluse going shopping for the first time. And he defends himself, saying that just because he knows how to get along with widows doesn't mean he gets along with people. He explains that everyone has their ups and downs, but the girl isn't convinced while he hides behind her like a scared puppy. Determined, she takes the lead to go in front. She explains that this body is precisely to deal with humans, and says she will show him how good she has become at it. Approaching the stall, she catches the vendor's attention. Showing all her determination, she says she wants a portion of fried chicken. The attendant, in turn, thinks she is a very polite young lady. She shows the chicken, all satisfied, seeming like the mission was a success. From up there, the little creature observes the situation, and they realize they are being watched by Neru. It seems the creature is quite interested in that, probably because of the good smell. Our boy discreetly observes the creature, but it notices and takes off. Guansho feels a bit disappointed, thinking it went badly, and there goes the money for the operation. Chang Zai-kun considers that it is not what Neru likes to eat. Maybe the creature prefers something tastier. The girl is curious to know what he means by deeper flavor. Then he points, asking what she thinks of that. Sometime later, they approach the food stall. A woman questions what that smell is, and they are sitting at a table with something that has a very strong odor. A beautiful plate of food is served, and quite satisfied, he says that the name of that is Loasafen. The girl feels a bit embarrassed, and doesn't know if it will work out. Chang Zai-kun also can't guarantee it will work, but he hopes it does. Suddenly, the little creature appears at the edge of the table, and starts climbing towards that unique dish of food. The little thing is really cute. Some strange aura is bubbling in that place. The girl is curious to know why he is there and not eating. Our hero observes the creature in silence. Finally, he apologizes to the little creature, saying he got everything wrong. He recounts that he remembers moments earlier when the creature ran away upon seeing him. It seems it wasn't because the creature found something more attractive or was frustrated or scared. In fact, it was because it encountered someone with an intense passion that left its instincts in panic. And he understands that the creature pursues these scents because people become calm after eating, so he asks if what it seeks is an environment where it can relax. Our hero calls for Guansho, and she becomes suspicious of such a formal call. But he smiles, saying that they may not get along, but he knows how difficult this job is for her. Then he questions whether she doesn't want to relax for today and enjoy a bit of human food. She feels embarrassed and asks why he wants to do something like that. Chang Zai-kun wants her to trust him, as he doesn't make mistakes in judgment, and can thus help create a more pleasant atmosphere. She feels quite shy about this, but she ends up accepting the food into her mouth. Our boy asks if she liked it. Jokingly, still embarrassed, she says it is much better than that dish over there. People around think they are a lovey-dovey couple, while Neru looks at the situation curiously. He watches our hero do that. Then, suddenly, something starts to happen there, and that creature transforms into a beautiful girl with long green hair. Surprising them, the girl pokes Chang Zai-kun. Then she points to herself and to the dish and asks with difficulty, "Rua." Our boy is a bit surprised by this, and the girl questions if Neru transformed into that. Guansho says that non-entity spoke about this transformation and that she would do it when she was fascinated enough. Chang Zai-kun is quite surprised. She remembers well Neru's transformation and that it is the deeper side of the soul, the other side. Then she wonders what this girl has to do with Chang Zai-kun. The girl starts waving her arms and making sounds as if she were a baby. Chang Zai-kun doesn't understand and questions what she is trying to say, but the girl mocks him, saying she self-proclaimed herself the whisperer of bizarre things. But he replies that his knowledge only allows for a degree of empathy, and asks how someone could read another person's mind. Devastated, she thinks there might still be some sanity left on Earth. Suddenly, the girl seems to notice something and turns red. Then, out of nowhere, she puts her mouth on the boy's finger, and she stays there looking at him in that somewhat strange position. Chang Zai-kun doesn't understand anything and asks what the point of that is, but she continues to focus on what she is doing, until she finally releases his finger, and she seems to breathe a sigh of relief. Chang Zai-kun finally understands. Then he takes a bit of noodles and offers it to the girl. But at that moment, a strand of energy wraps around the girl. Guansho screams calling for her, and she is violently pulled from the chair. A person appears saying that he is good at making the bazaar lower their guard, holding the girl like a puppy. He thanks a lot for that. Our hero is surprised that the man can see Neru, since before and after the transformation, she should be invisible to people. The guy says the problem is that they are not part of the moon, but they can track a bazaar. The henchmen say they will take everyone with them. Our boy throws himself on the ground demanding that the girl explain this, and also throwing herself off the table. She says she will explain this later, but hints that she never thought she would find them there. She also says that they are not like them and that they are enemies, so they should focus on recovering Neru. The girl screams in desperation. Chang Zaikuin notices that her level of agitation is increasing now. From within him, the host says he detected a well of agitation and can now better harness his power. Then all that energy begins to manifest in our hero in the form of pink tentacles. Those things advance against the henchmen and start to restrain them all. The boss seems to not believe what is happening and says that the boy is not human. He thinks our hero is also a bazaar, but Chang Zaikuin just observes while using all his power. He leaves that bunch of defeated guys on the ground, and it seems he overestimated the men, but in reality, they were very weak. His partner wonders if that would be an angry Chang Zaikuin. She comments that the unarmed guys are absolutely nothing, but she says their eyes are remodeled so they can see the bazaar. Meanwhile, our kind hero approaches Neru, saying it was nothing and that he will help her get free. At that moment, the girl notices a car has stopped there, and she realizes it was that girl with mental issues from before. Apparently, the guys are capturing people and they are not real patients. She believes that girl is also a victim of the situation. Frightened, she asks if they dealt with those men. Guansho wants to know what they did to her. Then the girl gets quite angry and starts stepping on the guy, saying she warned him not to take her nuts. The girl questions if they captured a monster, and Neru gets a little irritated. But Chang Zaikuin says they didn't capture anyone, they are freeing them. While the girl finally manages to eat her nuts, she says she understands. But it seems there's something quite bizarre happening in her mouth, and she lunges forward, screaming as she prepares to attack the group. Goodness, it looks like the defenseless girl is a strange monster. That bizarre thing lunges forward, and Neru gets scared again. But our powerful hero steps in front and protects the defenseless girl. She starts running in fear and turns back into a cute little creature. Guansho opens his shirt and asks her to get in there, which seems like a very interesting place. Neru, with a leap, goes straight into that hole. Chang Zaikuin watches this with a somewhat irritated expression. The poor monster wants to know why our hero deceived her. She says that the guy can see monsters, so she questions how he couldn't have seen who she was. Chang Zaikuin replies that he couldn't see anything before, but now he can see clearly. The poor monster tells him not to say things that hurt her like that. The woman attacks again, saying she knew as soon as she heard they have the same past. But this time she manages to hit our hero squarely, and he flies far away from the impact. Chang Zaikuin, irritated, asks if she thinks they are friends. Guansho realizes it's a gang of humans who won't stop until they capture bizarre creatures and also Moon. Moreover, that hideous woman has a transformation level beyond the guys who were beaten. She knows she should deal with this situation, but Neru is restless inside her body. Her concern is that the enemy might be stronger than she thought, and then she won't be able to keep everyone safe. She thinks it's better for the guy to run away, as that's the best they can do right now. But it seems his opinion on that is quite different. That bizarre woman responds by using her power against him. Again, our hero's tentacles wrap around that grotesque mouth of the girl. She says he can't keep opposing her. Then, becoming even uglier, she commands him to join her. The host says that ultra neurotoxins have been detected. He tells the host to do something now. And suddenly, he is transported to a different location. Observing everything, he questions what happened. From behind him, someone asks to be saved. He sees the girl begging him not to come closer, saying she is a monster, while that huge creature watches him. Crying, she asks if he can see and says she doesn't want to die. Chang Zaikuin questions where the monster is and wants to know if she has mental issues or is just trying to get attention. Desperate, she says that's not it. Irritated, he grabs her by the shirt, saying she's trying to trick him with these tricks. And he prepares to punch the girl, saying she is a scoundrel. Suddenly, he seems to come back to himself. He looks at his hands, questioning what he is doing. He thinks that wasn't him. It was just an illusion of someone pretending to be him. Suddenly, a voice says he realized it was all a lie. Then she approaches from behind and says these are their biggest misunderstandings. Reacting quickly, our hero invokes his power, but nothing happens, leaving him surprised. She hugs him, saying this place is safe, so he shouldn't be afraid, and that no one can get hurt there. She wants to know if he understands her, and says they are equals after all. Then, in his ear, she asks him to accept her request. Drooling strangely on him, she tells him to become one with her, for together they can kill those monsters that oppress them. Our hero remains there apathetic while being embraced, before that huge red eye. In the real world, the two are entangled with their powers. She wonders what happened for everything to be so calm and thinks it's a great opportunity to attack. But in the next moment, without any warning, Neru jumps away. She tries to scream for the little creature to stop, but Neru goes straight for the head of our hero. He is Chang Zaikuin, and he has had the power to see the bizarre since his birth. They glide over the masses and sometimes fight among themselves, but they rarely have human targets. At first, he was terrified, but eventually, he found a more terrifying existence than the bizarre. Someone told him that everyone saw each other eye to eye, and that it would be better if he disappeared. He wonders why he remembered that day, but perhaps they are just flashbacks. He remembers everything that happened that day. Now in front of him is that girl named Neru. He is surprised, wondering who she is. The monstrous woman is irritated to have an intruder in her territory. Neru says that the atmosphere has started to become restless, and that it is horrible, horrible. Then she approaches Chang Zaikun and says that the atmosphere is quite calm and that it is beautiful, beautiful. Irritated, the monster girl says that she is in her psychic territory and that this is the perfect moment to eat the boy. Finally, she attacks Neru, saying that this place is not hers to enter, and it seems she is going to swallow the girl whole. All Neru does is smile while being swallowed and asks, "Activated?" It seems that the power of that woman is not good for facing two people at the same time, but there is also no reason to refuse this little snack. Neru is there resting in the midst of that pile of dreadful fangs. Then finally the woman swallows her. The hideous creature begins to laugh in satisfaction, but something is happening inside, and this catches the horrifying creature by surprise. Those enormous mouths begin to open, and from within emerges Neru intact. The monstrous woman screams in agony, but Neru observes as if nothing had happened. With a wave of her hands, she begins to use her power as well, and she smiles as she transforms it all into a small red ball. That strange woman realizes that her already strange mouth has been destroyed. Neru then starts to put the ball in her mouth. She swallows it as if it were something truly appetizing, but in the next moment, she spits it out. She says it has the mixed flavor of human and bizarre, so it would be something like a mutant human that absorbed the bizarre. But if she doesn't devour it, she won't be able to get her dear one back. The mutant woman seems unable to believe she is feeling pain in her own psychic area. Ironically, the monster wants to know what kind of monster the other girl is. Frightened, she orders her not to come closer. Neru mocks her and says she is just an unbeatable monster in the psychic domain. And in a somewhat cute way, she talks about eating the girl. A giant eye appears there, and then a grotesque huge mouth follows. It approaches the girl mercilessly. She becomes terrified, screaming, and then finally she closes herself off. Back in the real world, she seems scared and still spits out a bit of blood. Our hero also has a look of surprise. In the next moment, the girl is lying on the ground and he watches her. The boy explains that she just suffocated his psyche, but now everything is fine. Neru asks that in exchange for this favor, he keeps things stable as they are now. Then she suddenly approaches, saying she has seen his past and that it is delicious. He is quite surprised by this attitude. Suddenly, Guansho appears in front of him, questioning if he is okay. But nearby, someone makes a noise and catches their attention. It is Neru, who is again making her strange noises. Our hero tells her not to worry, as he is fine. But he is thinking about what happened, not understanding if Neru is that giant eye or if she is something different. He is in doubt about which part is real and which part is his imagination. And the truth is, no matter how you see it, Neru is the most phenomenal bizarre they have ever encountered. Our hero traps something at the feet of a bizarre. He smiles satisfied and says that should be enough. He believes there will be no overflowing agitation and it won't disrupt his steps. He assures that from now on, in places outside of Moonrise, she won't become agitated again. It seems the creature is quite pleased with this. She snuggles up to him, making him awkward, while saying that if she is happy, he is happy too. But something catches his attention, and he wonders what it could be. Guansho thinks it is a reaction of astonishment. The chief comments that it is the first time she has seen a human and a bizarre get along so well. She adds that she thought it wouldn't last long. Moreover, she confesses that she is more surprised than she expected. Chan Zaikun explains that, in the stories, many bizarre beings have harmed humans, which is why they fear them so much. He explains that snakes have been victims of human disdain, but they only defend themselves in reaction, and that humans who understand this can have a harmonious life with them. Humans also consider sparrows a plague, but now they thrive all over the world. Moreover, they fear spiders that do no harm, and it is brilliant to place ethics above the turmoil for human civilization. Smiling, he says he judges the bizarre beings very accurately and believes they can coexist. Guansho wants to know if there is a dangerous bizarre being that threatens humanity, and he asks if he believes he can live well alongside humanity. But surprisingly, our hero questions whether she is not describing part of humanity, and he states that they would not stop until they drew a vital line. The chief ponders for a few seconds, but she questions whether our hero is talking about bizarre beings and not about humans, wondering if it would be a bizarre being so dangerous that he could not handle it. Then he replies that he would leave it for the chief to take care of, noting that this is not the goal of Moonrise. Smiling, Nonentity says it is his duty and that he cannot pass this responsibility to anyone. Chan Zaikun wants to know what the deal is with those guys who attacked and is worried that they let them go. Then she asks if the gang is called Moonseas. Elsewhere, that monster girl wakes up startled, and she realizes she is trapped by a bunch of strange metallic tentacles. A person approaches and says they are disappointed. They add that not only is he ashamed of her defeat, but the entire moon sees is as well. She is surprised and scared, called by the name Lord Baron as she stutters. Right up close, he says she has a pretty face. But it wasn't like that when he first saw her. She was in a precarious situation, with her body destroyed by life and drugs, just like her mind. She was lost in despair, with no control over her life. It was he who rescued her and not only healed her but also gave her powers when he fused her with a bizarre being. With a sadistic look, he says he was full of expectations and intended to gather several bizarre beings along with her. And he adds that she could have the chance to become a Duke of Moon Seas one day. With a piercing gaze, he asserts that he has given her so much and only expects that she does not fail in return. Squeezing her face tightly, he wants to know why she let that power amount to nothing. Pushing that bizarre thing out, she begs for forgiveness from the Lord and pleads for a second chance. A huge explosion occurs in front of that man. Smiling, he says he has many pawns at his disposal, and the woman's jaw drops to the ground. He walks away while thinking that slowly acquiring resources ends up hindering the evolution of Moon Seas. For them, bizarre beings are enemies of humanity, and turning them into power is the greatest grace for humanity. His goal is to bring down Moon Rise in the name of his group, Moon Seas. Looking at a cell phone, he thinks that was the man who destroyed his favorite cavalier, and he wonders if it was the boy. Excited, he wants to see the boy in person and calls him a traitor to humanity. At that moment, our hero is in a classroom. A boy questions whether that is not Chang Zaikuan who was missing, and the girl wants to know how he could have left school, since it seems there is an agreement for his absences not to hinder him. The boy asks if that is not irregular, also wanting to know what his background is. But since he transferred recently, he does not know. Then she mentions that Chang Zaikuan comes in first place in every exam he takes. He stands up excitedly saying he is a star student and wants to know what he is capable of. But the girl adds that he is also in first place in physical education, being stronger even than the teacher. She says the boy should just ignore him and explains that he was teased by his classmates when he was young. It seems those boys have never been found to this day. The chief said she would respect his human identity and that this job could be only part-time. She adds that, under her command, Moon Rise could have a harmonious coexistence. And back at Moon Seas, Guan Shou will send the information by phone for him to see when he has time. He is curious on his cell phone, wondering what this group is. It seems to be a secret human organization. They do not know when it was founded. It could have been decades or even centuries. It is made up of humans, but they are not pure humans. They chased and hunted bizarre beings to turn them into their strength, regardless of the means necessary. Chang Zaikuan wonders if they could be half human and half bizarre. Guan Shou recounts that through surgeries they managed to transplant parts of bizarre beings into human bodies. So, those bizarre beings who lost their limbs and powers are treated and considered as trash. Chang Zaikuan is very surprised by this information. It seems that the group is organized by imperial titles. From top to bottom, they are divided into Duke, Marquis, Count, Viscount, and Baron. He mentions that the woman he encountered the other day shouldn't even be a Baron. She was just a knight. But strength is not the only criterion for status within the group, and he says he can barely handle the knight. He gives a direct order. If you find one of them alone, you must retreat immediately. This leaves our hero quite surprised. He stands up in school and it seems there has been a power outage. It is too dark, and besides, it is almost the end of class. It should be the loudest time. He wonders why there isn't even a single person around. He walks and realizes he can't hear any sound. It's as if the entire school is absolutely empty. That long-haired man appears in the place, and he looks at our hero with a smirk on his face. Chang Zaikuan asks why he chose this place, since he came here to seek revenge, and he refers to him as the senior of Moon Seas. The guy doesn't seem very pleased, but he still smiles, saying that the boy is clever for recognizing who he is so quickly. He explains that he didn't come here for revenge, as he only helped him get rid of the weaker ones. But our hero tells him not to bother, and just to get lost. The man explains that they can use more people in these times and that the lack of helpers is frustrating. Showing a bizarre hand, he says that now he should join Moon Seas and take the place of that woman beside him. Chang Zaikuan simply says that that kind of guy is a pain. He asks if he is deaf and wants him to get lost and stop bothering him. The Baron says it seems he didn't understand anything. Then he explains that this is not a request but a threat. In another location, some henchmen are waiting, and he says that if the boy doesn't accept, numerous people will be executed at the school. Chang Zaikuan questions if he has kidnapped the entire school and is now holding them for his room. But he claims they are just a crowd of unimportant humans. The guy appears to be surprised by this statement. He laughs, saying he loved the response and that he really needs him to join Moon Seas. Then he asserts that he could be pretending and that he can't let his guard down. With a leap splitting his body, he asks why not test the boy. Our hero puts his hand in front to protect himself from all that light. The intensity only increases, and he wonders if it is a flare. When the light disperses a bit, he manages to look around, but there is no sign of that man. Suddenly, without him noticing, something comes out of the wall and wraps around his leg. He wonders when that appeared, thinking he was caught off guard. Then he activates his power using that bunch of pink tentacles. The man appears and questions if that was the power Moonrise gave him. He starts talking about his power and analyzes the details of how it works. Jumping in surprise on top of our hero, he says, "Your power and mine." And with a punch to the face, he completes by saying there is a world of difference. Chan Zaikun flies and crashes into the wall, leaving everything broken. He seems quite injured while thinking about how powerful that was. The tentacles seem to be wrapping around and becoming very resistant, like a rope. He realizes at that moment that, comparing their strengths, he is no match for the man. It seems that his tentacle pulls something out of his pocket, and in the next moment, a huge explosion occurs. The boy approaches, asking if he is trying to make contact and that it won't work. He says that, as Baron Egan, he hates living with people's excuses, always promoting self-interest. Then he asks why they don't take this world and turn it into a place where they can live without any of these tricks. Our hero asks what the hell he wants with him. The Baron explains that he will take control of him. Then he observes that manifestation of energy, and the guy completes that he will do this in the name of Moon Seas. But suddenly an energy surges in front of him and cuts that attack. The man seems not to understand and questions what is going on. He says he is a kind of whisperer of bizarre beings and explains that, even transplanted into a human body, one fact remains. Their powers are not fundamentally different from his own power. Only their usage is a bit more advanced than his. That man defends himself at the last moment from our boy's attack. He seems not to understand how his enormous power cannot crush the kid. Chan Zaikun says he is not agitated, that his academic record is very good, and besides that, he is well versed in bizarre beings. He then asks if he understood this information before starting to put on this little show of exploding the lights, cutting power. In addition to using the tentacles through the outlet, he openly did everything to remind that his powers were different. The guy gets irritated and shouts that it cannot be, that no matter how much he understands, he cannot do this. Our hero says that his agitation drops are restoring. Then he mocks, saying that if a humble mutant can do this, how could he not? The host says that the agitation limit has been broken and that he can fire whenever he wants. Then a huge energy starts to leak from our hero, and it hits that guy squarely, who begins to scream feeling the attack. Chan Zaikun apologizes and says that nothing remains in the face of his charged tentacles. He questions what it is like to do everything he wants, saying it is just arrogance, and that is why his human side lacks that bizarre charm. The guy seems quite irritated and calls our hero's name. Excited, he says that he really impressed him. Chan Zaikun thinks the guy is a little too excited. He questions whether this powerful attitude of his is hard to maintain. But the Baron, irritated, says that provoking him will only make things harder for him. And advancing against our hero, he claims that he is no longer qualified to join his organization. Using his power, he says he will now turn him into stock material. Chan Zaikun begins to be affected by all that power. He questions whether that was an explosive electric current. His parasite says it is detecting agitation drops. It explains that the enemy uses these drops as a conductor. Chan Zaikun says he understands more or less how he does this, and that he uses the agitation drops without any shame. The Baron asserts that he understands things, especially when it comes from bizarre beings, and insists that their power has the same origin. He is eager to meet him even if it comes at a cost. Our hero questions whether the fool forgot that the children are by his side. Then he entangles the tentacles in those wires, and without showing any emotion, he says it is a short circuit. A huge explosion occurs where he is. That explosion emits energy in all directions. The Baron questions whether it is a maneuver to allow him to escape. His parasite says that this is very dangerous. It says he just understood this power and does not fully grasp it. He could have even died using it. Chan Zaikun says he can match the lightning, but he cannot face him without using electric currents. It seems the enemy is now heading to the gym. It must be there that the hostages are, and our hero intends to think of a plan. Sometime later, with a huge red moon in the sky, that double door opens with the Baron entering suddenly. With a bit of fear, he questions whether with all that activity outside the problem has already been resolved. But the man says that the power supply of this place is precarious, and that he needs the hostages. The girl feels a tense atmosphere and believes they will be executed. The boy whispers to her, questioning whether they will not see a scene like that, and she becomes curious about what he is talking about. He says she is the most beautiful among all the students and fears what they might do to her. It seems the guy has the gift of making the situation heavier, and the girl asks if he cannot give her a little relief. Then, suddenly, she points at the boy and says she will start with him. The Baron approaches, saying he found someone strong there, to everyone's despair. The situation reverses, and the desperate boy asks for help. But the man does not give him time to think and begins to use his power on him. He is very happy to see that there is plenty of energy around. He comments that bioelectricity suits him better than other types. A boy is sprawled on the ground while the girl shakes him, telling him to wake up. At that moment, she realizes there are no heartbeats and becomes desperate. The Baron explains that he has ended his bioelectricity. She cries while cursing that man, but he shows no mercy and wraps his tentacles around her, questioning if she believes she has what it takes to fight back. With a mischievous look, he says she is not worthy of becoming his food. But in the next moment, a huge purple tentacle bursts through the wall and hits him squarely. The guy goes flying from the impact of that blow. Someone comments that bioelectricity is powerful, while the girl looks on in fear, and he questions whether the electromagnetism of science might not be even stronger. His classmate shouts his name, and she notices that he has a somewhat unusual hand. It looks like a bunch of tentacles tangled with other tentacles. How strange. Our hero strikes the chest of the boy lying on the ground and unleashes bioelectric energy into him. Magically, the boy comes back to life. Then Chang Zaikun says that the heartbeat has been restored. The Baron gets up cursing our boy as a piece of trash. And very irritated, he says that he keeps using every trick possible to humiliate him. Chang Zaikun wants to know what bizarre means to him, if it is simply a modified source of energy. He says that he lacks the mystical charm of the bizarre and also cannot manipulate electricity according to science. He adds that he is just a hungry and arrogant man who suddenly gained powers. Out of nowhere, the Baron starts laughing at the situation. He grabs people with his tentacles and says that those who dare to underestimate him will not die gracefully. The girl screams that he is sucking the energy from his own henchmen. That bunch of people falls dead to the ground, and he says he will give a moment to witness true power. Then he lets out a scream, manifesting all that terrifying energy. Our hero stands firm while the energy swirls around him. He makes a movement with his arms and all his tentacles writhe. He creates a huge defensive net around himself and the other students. Then he activates his power and finalizes that protective shield. The man is not satisfied, saying that that thing obstructed his power, and he asks how long he thinks he can ignore his absolute strength. Chang Zaikun continues to strive to protect everyone, when that energy takes on a terrifying form and advances toward him. The Baron, in his pure energy form, says that he will have no chance against him. While trying to defend himself, he notices that there is a pool behind them. In the next moment, both fall into the water. The Baron says there is no problem drowning him, but he would prefer to see him incinerated, and he adds that he is worth more to him as stock material. Our hero continues to defend against the attacks while provoking him, asking if it is true. Then he activates his power again. It seems that thing is sucking the Baron, and he wonders if that is a battery. Excited, he questions how he can submerge a battery and how the water is preventing the conduction of electricity. Chang Zaikun says that the agitation droplets are impure by nature and can function as a protective shell. He says he cleaned the agitation droplets from the area and that, in this isolated water, he can only move toward the agitation droplets of the device. And without the impurities from the area, it seems he cannot condense his body back to flesh. The Baron screams that it cannot be and questions if he has been to the gym before. Chang Zaikun then says that he has always claimed to be a whisperer of the bazaar, and the moment he left his bazaar open to judgment, fate was already sealed. The Baron screams in despair, insulting him and demanding to be released. Then, in the next moment, he is no longer seen at the bottom of the pool. Suddenly, some tentacles emerge from the water, and our hero appears at the edge of the pool with that device. He says that with audacious humans like him in the world, he loves the bazaar more and more. The Baron looks frightened by what he sees. He looks at that place full of strange crystals. A voice questions if that is the place he has always wanted to know. Then it calls him Baron Egan of Moon Seas. He says it was just as he imagined, that Moon Rise was supporting Chang Zaikun. Cursing, he asserts that the boss will regret letting him go. He laughs uncontrollably, saying that the Moon Seas Empire will mean nothing to him when he conquers Moon Rise. But suddenly something seems to slip out of his control, and he asks what reverse power that is. Non-entity says it is exactly as Chang Zaikun described. She adds that she sees no trace of bizarre in him, just a man hungry for power, so she can deal with him with a clear conscience. She says that the lifespan of the bizarre in his body exceeds his own and that he cannot live or die with it. Explain that one day his body will be old and will not withstand this power. As he begins to wither, she asserts that she will incinerate him until he is charred. Screaming in the midst of that fire, he questions what she is and what she is doing to him. She explains that karma is in everything that exists in this world and that all she does is accelerate karmic justice, leading even to destiny itself. That guy turns to ashes, but something remains on the ground. She places her hand on her face and says that she should not keep her eyes open for too long suffering. She could, unintentionally, end up taking a look and seeing the end of the world with her own eyes. Sometime later, back at that bar, Guanshou takes a drink while looking at our hero. He seems thoughtful and worried. He questions if everything was resolved without problems, and says he never thought he would see him with that look. He states that, even with his bizarre favorites around, he seems dead. Thoughtful, he says he was just reminiscing about some situations from the past. Nera looks at him, questioning. He replies that it is nothing dark that he cannot talk about and instead, will tell them. A long time ago, he was excluded by people for talking about bizarre phenomena. They gathered against him, and he thought his life was over. That was the first time he felt fear. But suddenly someone came to help him. She could see the bizarre just like he could, and he understood that he prefers to say he can judge them well thanks to her. but one day she just disappeared the same way she appeared. She sent word that she might have just moved away, and he almost let it go. But now that he knows of the existence of moon seas, he believes she may have been kidnapped by them all these years. As far as he is concerned, he does not need another motivation. He needs to become strong to face the organization and pursue her whereabouts. The boss says that, at his current level, he can only deal with the Baron, and that choosing this path will make him a target of the organization. Chang Zai-kun states that he is not very good at dealing with people, but there is something that they and the Bizarre have in common. He remembers his partner saying that they should define positions through strength, that there is no better way for humans to have those sensations than feeling it on their skin. So he asks them to please show him how to fight against this organization. The boss says it seems he has already made his decision. Then she extends her hand and tells him to follow her, for in Moonrise there is a place where his wishes can be fulfilled. Our hero follows the boss to that strange place. Curious, he wonders what kind of place that is. That place is the deepest area of Moonrise, and the Bizarre there have their reasons for living in isolation. She questions if he remembers their danger classification levels. Adrenaline Vita is the one that has the ability to cause injuries or loss of vital energy. The Fatal can easily cause death or annihilation. Dangerous level could put the whole world at risk. There is the Abomination that could shake the natural foundations of the world. Finally, the Bizarre in that place are of the dangerous level, and there is indeed the true prison of Moonrise. Surprised, our hero says there is one up there. That is the Shadow, who can materialize and overlap with past existences, disturbing the timeline between past and present. He can even reunite someone with an old friend. Something strange begins to happen there and takes shape. Our hero is surprised by what he is seeing. A strange creature appears before him. Chang Zai-kun wonders if it is the body of a Bizarre. He questions nonentity about why he brought that person back and what it all means. He then asks if that is the body of his parasite. But he understands that he can use that vision to better investigate the Bizarre and asks what he sees when observing closely. He picks up that Bizarre thing. Chang Zai-kun comments on how he can transfer himself easily, as if he has no attachment at all. This shows that he is not a parasite in essence. He only does this to survive. What he desires is an independent rebirth. The creature says that the host's insight power is indeed precise. She states that she is willing to bet on him and wants to know if he accepts to participate in this for his own goals. Then she tells him to accept her remains, and that it will not be up to her to yield her strength, but for him to dominate and unleash his power. He again remembers the girl who saved him, and thinks that he trusted her. Making a movement with his arm, he says that the result of his bet should be beneficial for both. Then he takes that cloak and puts it on. An energy begins to spread throughout the place, and one of his eyes changes completely. Chang Zai-kun asks if she still considers her current human self, but she promises that when he absorbs enough energy to be reborn, he will return to being completely human. Then she adds that she has already prepared the initial nourishment, while that guy jumps at him again. But our hero notices the attack and interrupts it without much difficulty. He questions whether he is materializing the past and states that this is the power of Shadow. He prepares an attack saying that if the materialized past is not weaker, that Baron Egan should not have any surprises. And with that, he hits the guy squarely. That imitation of the past begins to emit a strange sound, and in the next moment, it becomes a creature made of pure energy. Our hero is not intimidated and unleashes a shockwave from his hand. The attack hits the creature directly. In the next moment, that thing is on fire on the ground, while he says it was as he imagined. Even the same abilities bring different impacts when one understands their functioning in a different way. Shadow continues flying above them, and if all the human kidnappers are like the Baron, those energy spheres should be enough. The girl then talks about the task they have at hand. It will be a hunt for a man. But it seems that our hero is a bit tired and is already lying in bed. She gets a little irritated, telling him to get up, in addition to reminding him that this is her bed. He comments that he and his parasite Blitz have achieved a deeper synchronization and asks if they shouldn't go hunt moon seas. Guan-sho explains that it is a person he knows. Then he shows a photo of his classmate Lori on his phone. He keeps looking, all tangled up in the blanket, without saying a word. Our hero, somewhat careless, doesn't even know who the girl is, and Guan-sho gets irritated thinking he is mocking the girl. Chang Zai-kun wants to know why they are after her since she has no bizarre traits. After the Baron went to the school, that organization made everyone involved lose their memory, but that girl disappeared. Chang Zai-kun asks about the fact that they erased everyone's memories. The organization does not want the public to know about the existence of the Bizarre, as they want to monopolize that knowledge and technologies. If they ever decide to make this public, it will only be after they have enough power to dominate the world. Our hero wants to know what the girl has to do with this, but Guan-sho explains that they do not have a perfect technique for erasing memories. The most likely scenario is that if they find her, they will end up using her to improve their fusion experiments. She appeals to the fact that the boy does not want to see the Bizarre getting hurt, questioning whether he will just watch all of this. Then, the next day, very early, he says that just because she told him to follow a human doesn't mean he has the powers to do so. But of course, society has an effective way of searching for people. it would be by making a call to emergency services. Somewhat convinced, he thinks the best way is to leave it to the police. While they do that, of course, he will take a nap to rest. Then he pulls the blanket to tidy up his bed. But it seems there is a little surprise lying there, and the girl is drooling while she sleeps. She wakes up rubbing her eyes in confusion. Then, on the phone, he seems to be notifying the police that she has been found, which leaves her desperate. She runs out, pushes the phone from his hand, and asks him to wait. Frightened, she pleads for him to listen to her first, as he is the only one who can save her. But he wants to know first how she got in there. Then she tells him that she looked up the school records to find the address. And then she said she was his girlfriend and asked the apartment staff to open the door. Our hero is surprised that she knows how to use her abilities well. Then she talks about that night at school and about the people who were taken to the hospital. At first, she thought it was to check if everyone was okay, but she felt that something was wrong. She remembers the situation where everyone was waiting and the doctors were telling them to go one by one to the emergency room. The doctor asks those in worse condition to enter first. Scared, the girl asks if they think they are safe now. She comments to a friend that all of that was strange and terrible. But someone orders her to shut up. The doctor says that this is an emergency center and that she should be quiet. So, all sweet, she asks if they can speak a little quieter. But nearby, someone catches her attention while carrying a mirror. And it seems she sees through the reflection, through the emergency room window, something quite bizarre happening. The person inside appears to be going through a tense situation. The doctor merely observes that scene and says it's already resolved. Then she tells the next person to come in so they don't lose even one patient. She stands up, terrified by that situation. The young man leaves the emergency room somewhat shaken. She asks what is happening, frightened. The guy seems a bit slow and can't explain things properly. She becomes worried because he only talks about someone else and seems to not remember what happened. The doctor roughly pushes the boy, telling him to hurry up, as there are several other people. That young man seems a bit dazed and needs to rest, while the girl needs to think quickly to escape from there. Then, suddenly, the young man vomits on her. She hits him, shouting that it was disgusting. The girl needs to clean herself up and doesn't even know if she has other clothes to change into. The doctor, irritated, tells her to go back and not delay the exams, and she replies that she heard him loud and clear. Then, minutes later, she is in the bathroom cleaning herself. She remembers the doctor's words to return, but thinks she won't do that. Suddenly, she realizes that this is the best moment to flee. She can't just run out of there, or she will be seen by the doctors. It seems that her only option is to go through the window. But looking down from above, she sees doctors even outside. She wonders why there are doctors patrolling. This is getting weirder by the minute. She realizes there's nowhere to escape to and feels a bit desperate. Then, suddenly, something happens in her ear. She turns quickly, asking what that is. It's a strange entity that appears before her. Our hero questions if she is saying that a bazaar has escaped. The girl affirms that it's true and that she understood his thoughts for some reason. After that, she managed to escape and hide there. Our hero asks her to just lower her head. She feels a bit shy and asks what he is doing. Then he gets close and smells her hair. Smiling excitedly, he says that there are indeed traces of bazaar in her, and that she wasn't lying. She gets irritated, wanting to know if he is happy because of her or because of the bazaar. Jokingly, he asks if that is the case. She yells at him, asking if he has any idea how many of those guys want to be her first man. But he questions how her popularity among humans could have anything to do with him. She says she might be offended, but still feels relieved, and adds that she really chose the right place to take refuge with him. Chang Zaikun says that choosing right is nonsense. He is feeling frustrated. He wants to know how she simply escaped, as it didn't seem easy. He recounts that when he first encountered them, they were also posing as health professionals. They caused chaos at the school without alerting the community, which proves they are quite efficient. Chang Zaikun says he fears he might have let her see the device intentionally and that their goal could be the bazaar she bumped into. The girl gets scared and asks if they could still come after her. Chang Zaikun confirms that it's quite possible and hopes she finds that bazaar again. Desperate, the girl says she doesn't want to be brainwashed. But our hero holds her, telling her to serve as bait and lure the organization. A bit confused, she questions this. He explains that his goal is to find and help the bazaars, but his only concern is not being able to interrogate more prisoners. Guancho is surprised that they found the girl and that the organization is after her. Moreover, she will use what was said to try to discover the identity of that bazaar. Touching Nera's head, she tells her to just wait. Inside, she seems to be a bit asleep. Then she starts to wake up slowly around there. She comments that this is a child not very familiar. It looks like a glowing jellyfish floating around. She questions if she is escaping and says she could only help her if she were in the psychic world. Then she hugs her legs, saying it's chaotic and terrible. Sometime later, Guancho tells our hero that she found some clues. It seems that this bazaar is not native Moonrise. It must be a foreigner and possibly has psychic powers. Chang Zaikun wants to know if she found anything about the moon seas, capable of erasing memories. But the girl says she has never seen that before and that it's a power that works contrary to her impact. So, unlike Egan, they have the power to disguise and hide. Guansho wants to know if he needs help, as, despite knowing he has experience, he will likely not face just one person. He asks about sending the non-entity, as he imagines she is quite powerful. Guansho gets irritated and questions what use he is if the boss has to act. He then asks her to drive to the indicated location, as he intends to first deal with Moon Seas and then help the bizarre one. Lori seems to be a bit shy around there. She wonders if, from that angle, he can't see all that health, but he asks who would be interested in seeing that, and says that if she stays in front of his view, he will let her know. Shyly, she questions the scene and doesn't know how seductive that position of the phone is. But Chang Zai-kun says that her only job is to walk around so he can observe her, while everyone around notices the girl. This way, it becomes easier for him to observe her from afar and still have an idea through the phone of what is around. And even if there are spies nearby, he intends to see them this way. Even Blitz is keeping an eye on this situation. That parasite is going to his hand. But in fact, they have been roaming around for hours and haven't found anything suspicious. He walks while a security camera follows his movement. Our hero realizes the exact moment the camera turns. Everything indicates that someone is watching him from another location. The parasite says that the camera has turned and is clearly monitoring him. He feels a bit tense about this situation, hoping they have only hacked the Sky Eye system. Chang Zai-kun tells them to stop for today and comments that the gang's security system is bigger than he thought. But on the other end of the phone, no one responds. The guy says that she is not listening. Something strange begins to happen in front of him. He is caught off guard by some manifestation of energy. Something tells him that they are lurking beside him and that he should go to their side. Meanwhile, the girl observes that place trembling, and seeming to be in some sort of trance, she says she must go in there now. He thinks that their main objective is not Moon Seas, but rather that bizarre one she encountered earlier. Chang Zai-kun finds his power quite curious, and even manages to hear him screaming. He starts to remember the smell he sensed from the bizarre one on the girl. He concludes that this one uses pheromone communication, but he doesn't understand why the bizarre one would call for Lori now. Then he observes the place where he is hiding, and it seems to be a hotel. He arrives at the hotel reception, which seems empty. Leaning on the counter, he says that there is no one around. He tells his parasite that he is not seeing anything either. It seems that the screen is limited and there are no signs of the girl, but he memorized the cameras and can guide him. A voice comes from above saying that they were investigating the situation. Guansho appears saying that the Sky Eye was indeed hacked, and everything indicates it was Moon Seas. This also seems to indicate that Moon Seas is nearby, and the worst-case scenario would be dealing with the bizarre one and the organization together. Chang Zai-kun finds the angle from which she is speaking to him a bit strange, but she claims she is not there to monitor. The parasite asks why he didn't call the girl for help. He replies that the enemy this time is stealthy. He explains that her goal is to help, but her power could make a huge difference. He says that, in the name of Moonrise, she operates in human form, so there is a chance the organization knows her identity. Taking her would make the enemy stay on high alert and complicate his work. Moreover, regarding investigation skills, he seems quite confident as he spreads various tentacles with eyes around the place. Those eyes begin to open doors and spy inside. They also enter through the windows to search for the target. Chang Zai-kun thinks that, thanks to Blitz, they can see various situations even with their eyes closed. Disappointed, he only finds couples having fun, and his parasite comments that he expected something different there. He says he cares little for this bunch of boring scenes in a world of billions. Unless, of course, the participants are bizarre. Then he says it would be worth it, but the parasite asserts that it cannot answer that as a bizarre one. In the next moment, he says he found something, and it seems to be the girl walking in a trance. She is not in her normal condition, but she is not alone, as there are several other strange ones on alert at the windows and doors. Chang Zai-kun says he isn't seeing anything bizarre. At that moment, something strange moves across his back. His parasite senses the movement, and blocks the attack just in time. It seems he was right. The bizarre is controlling the bodyguard, and everyone is being mentally manipulated. Then he comments on who he thinks is trying to control them. But the boy seems a bit excited about those things writhing around, while the parasite explains what it will do. He could say he is trapped, but it's not quite that. It seems the rest of it is in another location or perhaps in another plane. He checks with his arm, using his power again, and realizes he can only see one tentacle. He continues advancing and scanning, while the parasite defends him from that bizarre entity. Now his feet also turn into glowing tentacles. Chang Zai-kun finds it amazing to only see the bizarre by inverting an angle of observation. Then he asks the creature if he should call it Malamar. That entity says it has been seen and that it is an enemy. It rises from the ground smiling. It says that is the enemy, and that confrontation is necessary. Then it calls its slaves and orders them to kill him. That reminds Chang Zai-kun of when he met the girl with the nuts. Because, according to Guansho, the power of the cigarette is psychic. He says that compared to that inverted humanoid figure, he finds the jellyfish more appealing. The enslaved people advance against our hero with the intent to destroy him. An attack comes close, but he easily dodges. Lori attacks again, and once more, he steps aside. He notices another guy all hunched over coming to attack. He puts his arm in front to block the blow. Then, with each arm, he attacks 2 of those guys, already neutralizing them. He realizes they are weaklings and that he can handle this without difficulties. The jellyfish finds that truly amazing. It says it learned to use its powers in the psychic world and that if it wants, it can go train with him there. But something catches his attention again. Several jellyfish appear holding people upside down in a trance. Blitz tells him not to be afraid of anything, as it is just a mental image, and in real life, they remain the same. It seems that seeing them disguised as bizarre entities bothers him a little. Then he panics, thinking it is some kind of trick, and says his mind is shattering. The parasite asks him to take it easy, as a cool head is one of his best weapons. But he says he is cool-headed and will just deal with those things there. He then uses his shockwave power, hitting everyone. Those creatures are struck and seem to be melting, which leaves our hero shocked. The rays continue spreading across all of them, and Chan Zaikuin fires without mercy. He notices there are some drops of agitation in the area. He realizes he hasn't noticed this agitation since he entered there. They seemed restless, yet they still took no action. He doesn't know if they are bizarre entities or parts manipulated by humans. He believes that formless and traceless water is his true medium. But finally, the bizarre says he is wrong. It tells him it can grasp the deepest thoughts of those it encounters and that knowledge is its true weapon. It says it doesn't want to harm anyone, but everyone wants to harm it, and the blame for this confrontation is all his. Just with that contact, it already knew everything that was going on in his head and used those forms to mess with him. Just as he needs only a glance to understand a bizarre entity, it seems she did the same. The parasite urges him to step back, for if he fails here, he will be consumed. But he seems satisfied and says he has never felt so lightheaded. He asks Malamar if she said that knowledge is her weapon, but asserts that she only sees half the picture. The bizarre becomes agitated, questioning what he means. He explains that she saw his thoughts and hurt him, causing confusion, but did not understand his intentions. And he adds that she cannot perceive who has been taking care of him all this time. Then a huge giant hand appears, holding that jellyfish. He tells her she may have taken advantage of his concern, but it was she who harmed the people first. Holding her by the leg and bringing her to its mouth, he states that she is unstable, terrible, and disgusting, but must be consumed. The creature screams as it is taken toward Nera's mouth. Back in the real world, she is lying on the ground with all the slaves unconscious. It seems the enemy was so scared that it dismantled its own psychic world. It didn't matter how strong it was inside, for in the real world, it was just a jellyfish. But she knew that Nera could win this fight. He apologizes for having taken advantage of her, but says that to win without hurting her, he needed to do this. Suddenly, Nera becomes desperate, making noise. Surprised, Chang Zaikuin asks what the problem is. A voice asks if he can lower his arms. A woman grabs him by the neck with strange claws, saying that if he surrenders, she won't hurt his friends. Chang Zaikuin is surprised and asks who she is. But the person doesn't care about the question and digs her claw into his neck. She says she warned him not to resist and that he is the one forcing the attack. He tries to defend himself by asking when he fought and claims that he was just, but she interrupts him and wounds him again. He seems unable to see anymore, and there is some toxin causing this. To make matters worse, the parasite also cannot see, as they are sharing the body. The woman says that since he is a whisperer of bizarre beings, his vision is a natural weapon, but she asserts that he doesn't need to worry, as the target is the jellyfish, and if he does nothing, he can be fine. Our hero questions why he should believe her. Neru is shaken, and the woman says he can trust her words. Neru jumps off his lap and runs away. Chang Zaikuin wonders if this means the enemy has no psychic power and uses toxins to harm the spirit. Then, suddenly, she says that Tatters can get up, and a strange creature responds that it is present. The girl orders it to pick up the bizarre being from the ground and leave immediately, without any other ideas. The creature approaches the jellyfish and says it will do as she wishes. Our hero questions what he should do, whether he should give up or try to fight. The bizarre creature says obstruction, but it seems that something is bothering it. Behind her, Guanshou appears, holding her clothes like a little dog. The girl asks if there is some kind of moon seize tool that talks like a robot. Then she presses a button on the control, and a huge explosion occurs at the location. The woman is caught off guard and tries to defend herself from the debris. In the midst of the smoke, she notices that she has opened a hole in the ceiling, and through there, Guanshou manages to rescue our hero. She says that, as he had requested, she parked the car nearby, but next time she would like to be warned when things go wrong. Chang Zaikuin says it is not the time for a scolding. The bizarre being is still down there. Then she stretches her hand through several tentacles to reach the bottom. It seems she hits the creature's natural protective barrier full of vitality. That thing says it succeeded while swallowing the jellyfish. The woman says they can have the cake and eat it too. She claims this bizarre being for the moon seas. The girl realizes she is not in an advantageous position. Suddenly, our hero can see again. She notices that he is sitting in the room, and her partner is excited that he has rid himself of the toxins. Nera jumps on him, all happy, and he says this means the organization took the bizarre being. Guanshou states that her goal is to help him, so his safety is the priority, and from now on, he should not underestimate the organization. Chan Zai-kun acknowledges that the organization really knows him well and that he was caught perfectly. But if she thinks his abilities are limited to vision, she is mistaken. Guan-shou is curious to know what he will say next. He comments that he can distinguish the sound of those high heels. He realizes that the enemy is quite tall, and that she has a soft touch, well trained for a speech pattern. Moreover, he notices that she used an expensive perfume. He remembers the moment when she said he was a whisperer of bizarre beings. Chan Zai-kun wonders if she was once a star, perhaps a model or actress, and considering the way she held him, he believes her bizarre appendage must be near her shoulder. Chan Zai-kun says they might have a surprise looking. Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.